Hey everyone, it's Lisa Stens from Lisa's Creative Corner. Welcome to Tags, Bags, Boxes, and More, which is another video collaboration with the creative design team. This month we're sharing fun ways to create gift packaging for the holidays. I have this festive little box to share with you along with 6 different shaker tags that go inside. This shaker tag is fun because it's see-through. This one says Holly Jolly, which is very festive, and then this little winter themed one with this snowflake. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make all of these different tags and this cute little box to hold the tags. We're going to be using the stamp set called Elegant Snowflakes, and the set actually does have a thin cuts metal die set that goes with it, but we're not going to use it for this project. I'm going to be using my Versamat underneath, and I flipped the Versamat over to the spongy side, which just gives me a nice platform to do my stamping. And I'm going to be using some Versamark ink on craft cardstock, and I love the look of this. When you stamp it on the cardstock like this, it gives you a watermark effect, and it's just so beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and use these different size snowflakes to random stamp on this craft cardstock, which will be the base of our box. And I created this box in Design Space, and I'll go ahead and put a link down below in the description section to this Design Space file so that you can create the box and these tags as well. So I'm just going through and I'm filling in all the holes with the different size snowflakes, and I'm going to do the same thing on the top of the box. And I like to start with the largest snowflake first and then use the medium size and then fill in with the smaller size. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold the box lid and the box base on all of the score lines. And then I'll glue all of the pieces together. And I found that the liquid adhesives seem to work the best on this craft cardstock. The tape runner that I had tried initially worked okay, but the craft cardstock is not coated, and so the tape runner didn't stick as well as I had hoped. So now I'm using the Tombow Mono liquid glue, and this is the permanent one, and this worked really well. And if you have any of the Bondi Memories glue left, close to my heart used to sell it. We don't sell it anymore, but that works pretty well on the craft cardstock also. I think almost any liquid adhesive would work. If you have liquid glass, that would also be a good one to use. So I'm just going through and I'm adhering the flaps together on the ends and then the end flap on top. And you can see how it created the box lid. So I'm going to set that aside to dry, and then I'm going to work on the box base. And I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to add some adhesive to those center flaps there. I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to attach those center flaps to one side of the box. When you're using liquid adhesive like this, you just want to make sure that you hold the pieces down long enough for it to dry so that it doesn't pop off. And I'm just pressing down a couple times here and just to make sure that those pieces are actually dried enough so that they won't pop open. So now that those two flaps are adhered, I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive and adhere those last two panels to complete the box base. So now I just want to figure out which side of the box I want to be the front, because I want to make sure that the flaps are on the outside of the box on the front so that there's no seam showing. The seam will be on the back of the box. So I added adhesive to the inside of those flaps, and I'm just pushing them in place and trying to hold them the best I can. And because the box is now closed, it's a little bit tougher to get my fingers in there to hold them down. So sometimes I'll take an ink pad or something a little bit smaller that I can insert in there and just press down to hold those panels in place so that it dries nice and flat. So now that the base of the box is finished, I can go ahead and embellish it. So I'm going to take my Scarlet ink pad and my Pebble ink pad and do a little bit of stamping for the front panel. So I cut a piece of French vanilla cardstock to 1 7/8 by 3 3/8, and I'm stamping the Warm Winter Wishes image from the Elegant Snowflake stamp set in the Scarlet ink. And then I'm going to random stamp some of the snowflakes around the edges with the Pebble ink. And just like on the box, I'm starting with the larger snowflakes, and then I'm going to fill in with some of the smaller snowflakes. And I just find it easier to stamp this way using the larger ones first and then filling them in with the smaller ones. And this stamp set has so many different snowflakes that it makes it really easy. I love these little tiny ones. They're just so cute. Now I'm going to go ahead and adhere that stamped piece of cardstock to a piece of scarlet cardstock that measures 1 15/16 by 3 7/16. And then I'm going to adhere that to a piece of foil, silver foil cardstock that measures 2 1/8 by 3 5/8. And this time I'm going to use some foam tape. And you can either use some regular foam tape or the shaker window foam and acetate foam tape that comes in the rectangle pack that I'm going to be using for this project. And if you don't have that pack, like I said, you can just use some regular foam tape or some leftover foam that you might have from another project. So now we're going to adhere it to the front of the box, and you want to make sure, look for those seams and put the seams in the back and line it up on the front of the box. And you can see that the top of the box, we're not going to put adhesive on the top because we want the box lid to slide underneath. So we're going to use some more of these foam squares, and we're just going to put them on the bottom portion so that the box lid will be able to slip behind it when you place it on top. Once you have that front panel adhered, we're going to go ahead and adhere the silver foil snowflake. And the snowflake comes from a Cricut collection called Artistry from Close to My Heart. And I just die cut it, like I said, from the silver foil cardstock. And I just added a little bit of adhesive to the right side, so that left side that hangs over does not have any adhesive on it. And once we adhere that little snowflake, that box is done. And we're going to go ahead and set it aside so we can start working on the tags. The first thing that we want to do for our tags is to do the stamping. So I'm laying out all of the craft pieces of the tags first, and I'm going to use the Versamark ink and random stamp them with the snowflakes like I did on the box. Now this first tag includes 2 pieces, and we want to make sure that the pieces line up. You're going to stamp one way and one the other way. You can see on the first one, the largest circle is on the bottom right, and the second one, the largest circle is on the bottom left. That's because you're going to put them together face to face to create that clear see-through tag. So go ahead and do whichever snowflakes you want and just random stamp them all over these pieces. And again, I suggest starting with the larger ones and then going to the medium-sized ones and then the smaller ones to fill in those extra spaces. I just find it easier to do it that way. And once all these pieces are done, you can set them aside and then you can start working on putting the tags together. The first tag we're going to make is this see-through tag, and this image also came from the Artistry Cricut collection. And we're going to use some acetate from the rectangle foam pack, and if you don't have that, you can use some overhead projector acetate that you can purchase at an office supply store. So you just want to make sure your acetate fits on this tag so it doesn't hang over the edges. So the best thing to do is just cut the corners at an angle so that it fits just inside of the tag and doesn't hang over the hole on the top. So this is where you want to use the tape runner because the acetate will adhere better with the tape runner. You don't want to use liquid adhesive to adhere the acetate. So I'm using the Tombow tape runner, and this one works really well for this because it holds the acetate in place nicely. Once you've adhered a piece of acetate to both sides of this tag, we're going to go ahead and use some foam tape around the edges. So you're going to want to cut the foam tape to fit all the way around the edges, and you're going to want to butt the edges up to each other so that there's no open spaces, because when you put the confetti on the inside, you don't want to have any open spaces for the confetti to fall out. I'm using the non-stick microtip scissors to cut the foam tape, which is great because it doesn't stick. It's really good for cutting things with adhesive on it. So after you have all of your tape around the edges, you're going to want to use the anti-static pouch to add a little bit of powder just on the inside so that your confetti is not going to stick. Then we'll add a little bit of the Silver Star confetti to the inside, And just make sure that it's right in the center, so when you peel off the adhesive backing, that the stars don't stick to the adhesive before you're able to put that other side of the tag on. So once you've exposed all of the adhesive, then you're going to take the other side of the tag and place it right on top and press down, and that will seal in all of those beautiful stars on the inside. Now you're ready to add a little bit of twine to the top so that you can hang your tag off of a package, or you can hang it on the Christmas tree. And I cut about a 12-inch piece and folded it in half, and I'm going to stick it through the hole on the top of the tag, and I'm going to make a little loop and slide the two end pieces through that loop. And that finishes off that tag, and I made 2 each of the tags to put inside the box, so here's the other one. And here's a close-up of what the finished tag looks like. I love that you can see through this tag. Now we're going to start on the second tag, and we've already done the stamping on the craft portion of this tag, and now we're going to adhere the frame around the opening of the tag. So this is a piece of silver foil cardstock that we cut out using the Design Space file that will be listed down below, and you can use whatever adhesive you like to attach this. I used some Bonding Memories glue, and the key is just to make sure that it covers the opening so that you can't see any of the craft cardstock through. And this is the best way to do it, is just kind of flip it over and make sure that nothing's showing through on either side. Now we're going to attach a piece of acetate to the back side of this tag, and if you're going to use the acetate from the foam and acetate rectangle pack, you want to make sure to remove one side of the protective coating. On one side of the acetate there's a piece of protective coating. You can just scrape off the corner with your fingernail and it will loosen it so that you can peel off that backing. And then just cut it down to the right size and use some tape from your tape runner to adhere it, and then just make sure that it's not covering the hole at the top. Now we're going to add the foam tape, and if you're using the shaker window foam and acetate pack from this rectangle package, you can use the very smallest rectangle and it will fit perfectly. I designed this tag so that this piece will fit perfectly in the center. And then use your anti-static pouch again in the middle here just to remove any static so that the stars won't stick. And then you're going to want to use some of these little squares to fill in the outside of that frame. So using your nonstick microtip scissors, cut these little squares in half and just kind of fill in a little bit around the edges. And then you're ready to add your silver star confetti to the center. Once you've added your confetti, then you're ready to go ahead and remove the backing on the foam adhesive pieces. So just be real careful when you do this. I had a little trouble with the stars jumping and adhering to the exposed foam. Now we're ready to go ahead and add the scarlet cardstock tag to the very back to seal in those stars. And now we can go ahead and add the twine just like we did on the first tag. And now our second tags are finished, and here's a close-up of what it looks like. Now we're ready to move on to our third tag. Now this tag's a little bit tricky because you want to add the twine first. So we're going to go ahead and add about a 12-inch piece of twine to the right side of the Holly Jolly open tag. And then we're going to cut a piece of acetate to fit over this tag. And the best way to do it is to hold up the acetate like I'm doing here, and using your microtip scissors, cut around it so that the tag is perfectly aligned with the size of the acetate. And once you have the acetate piece cut, then you're going to go ahead and flip over the craft side of the tag and use some adhesive to attach it. So we want to again use the tape runner to attach the acetate on top. Now I'm putting a piece of scrap cardstock underneath because there's so many openings on this tag that some of the tape from the adhesive is going to come through. So we want to make sure that we have something protecting our workstation. And once we've covered the entire area of that back side of the tag, you want to hold it up to see, you can see some of the tape that's showing through. And I'm just using a piercing tool to move that tape to the back so that you can't see it. You can either remove it with the piercing tool, or you can kind of push it so that it goes to the back. Now we can add the acetate right on top of that adhesive and just press down to make sure that it's sealed nicely. And the next step is to add some of the foam adhesive all the way around the edges of the tag. And just like on the other tags, I'm just using my microtip scissors and cutting some pieces to fit all around the edges, making sure that there's no openings for the stars to fall out. Once you've added all of the foam tape around the edges, then you're going to take your anti-static pouch like we did on the other tags and just add a little bit of powder on the inside to keep the static down and keep the stars from sticking. And now you can either remove the adhesive backing on the foam now and add your stars, or you can add your stars first and then remove the backing. Either way works. And then we'll add the scarlet cardstock tag to the back to seal it closed. Now if you have any pieces hanging over, whether it's the acetate or the foam adhesive or the cardstock, you can just trim it up with the microtip scissors. Now that your tags are finished, you can place them inside the box, and you can use the box itself as a gift packaging, or you can use it to store your tags. These tags, again, they make a great addition to your presents. You can write to and from on the back. You can use them on your Christmas tree as ornaments. Either way, it's just a fun little project to make and share at Christmas time. I hope you've enjoyed our tags, bags, boxes, and more video collaboration. And if you've missed any of the other design team members' videos, be sure to check down below. I have links to each and every one, and there are some amazing projects. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Happy holidays!